Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here for another YouTube video discussion. I hope that you will join me for this discussion and leave your comments, your thoughts down below. And this is probably going to be long-winded because it's been something that's kind of been rolling in my head for a while, and I guess I'm going to talk about it because it's popped up in my head more than a couple of times. And even though I have a list of other things that I keep sort of writing out, like let's talk about this, for some reason I want to talk about this. So please forgive me while we talk about the idea of streaming services or the idea of these subscription services that we have. Now, it's going to mostly focus on Nintendo, obviously, because to me they're the weakest of the three. And I think that it can just benefit Nintendo to go full-blown Sony with it. Or even maybe do a little bit like how Xbox does it. Now, I still don't think they should do trophies or achievements because to me that instantly is a big no-no. Like, I'm not touching the PS1 and PS2 games for my PlayStation Plus subscription because I don't see the point in adding trophies to a game that was never designed to use trophies. You know, go back and play the original Fable on the original Xbox One and tell me how many achievements pop up. The answer is going to be 0 because the game was designed with no achievements in mind. So I'm not about to go through and re-download it on my Series X just to get achievements. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. I'd rather have a new Fable. So with all that in mind, what am I talking about? And I do apologize, it's probably being long-winded like I said, because there's just a lot of stuff working through my brain. So I'm probably going to jump back and forth between points. What I mean is I think it would add value to Nintendo's service, their NSO Online, the Nintendo Network, whatever they're going to end up calling it in the future, to essentially bring back the whole backlog of games. I've talked about this before, about how it would be beneficial for Nintendo to, let's just say as an example, to bring in the GameCube and the Wii and the Wii U, because there's only 3 systems left. They're already up to the N64. Might as well just bring in the GameCube and the Wii. And even if you don't want to throw in the Wii U just yet because you're still bringing over games from the Wii U, there are still some games that you could probably add over to the Wii U. Like you could probably bring over New Super Luigi U as an example. And this is something that I've kind of pointed out before, I think in other videos, but just to sort of give a better idea about what I mean. Imagine Metroid Prime 4, right? And this is another topic that I sort of want to talk about, and maybe in another video. Imagine Metroid Prime 4 is announced at the February Direct as one of the last games that's going to come out for the Switch, right? Imagine they do that. And this is something that I also talked about with Metroid Dread. So you're kind of going to see the same line of thought here. And then they say, and now Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 on the NSO for you to relive the story. One, that adds value to the NSO. People are going to sign up to play it. People that already have it are going to download those games to relive Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3. And then they're going to buy Prime 4. It works out for any game. Like, again, Metroid Dread. A lot of hype behind Metroid Dread. And what happened with Metroid Dread was people basically, they had Wii U's and then they bought like every single Metroid game. They bought Metroid 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or Super Metroid and Fusion, whatever you want to call them. To basically relive the story and get pumped for Metroid Dread. And you can do this with F-Zero. They say, hey, here's F-Zero SX for the Switch. And now, for NSO members, you can now play GX and X and like play all the F-Zero games. People play them, they like them, they get hyped. Now they're like, oh man, I never really knew I liked F-Zero, but that one looked good, and now I'm playing these, and these are good, I'm going to buy it. And that's not to say that there's not any room for remasters, okay? I know for a fact that there are people out there, like I have The Last of Us Remastered, the PS4 version that came included with PlayStation Plus, and I downloaded it, okay? That's the version that I have. But I know people who have personally bought the PS5 remake, the remaster or whatever, just to get the updated graphics, just to get the updated controllers, just to get all that. Okay, so that's not saying there isn't still room for people that are just like, oh yeah, well, why would I buy Mario All-Stars again? Well, there were some people that they would buy it. I mean, look at the 3D All-Stars for an example. Even though those games could have just easily have come, and for the most part they did come, other than Mario Galaxy, they did come to NSO. People still bought them, right? So if Nintendo would have come out with a Switch version or Switch 2 version of Mario All-Stars that had updated graphics of Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 and the Lost Levels, there would be people that would buy that. There are going to be people that they're going to buy the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. I'm going to buy another Code because I didn't really get a chance to play that on the DS. And because it includes a Wii version that never launched here in the US, I'm going to buy that. And just like I bought Super Mario 3D World, the one that was on the Wii U, Super Mario 3D World, even though I bought that again because it included Bowser's Fury with it, my Wii U version is still over here. Like, I still have it. So I have two versions of the same game. Some people will buy the games over and over again, right? But it would be great for people like me that's like, nah, I'm not going to buy the Metroid Prime trilogy again. Thank you. I already have the Metroid Prime trilogy on my Wii. It would be great to just have it on NSO. To have it included, should I want to boot up Metroid Prime 2 and have it available for whatever. And that's also not to say that there won't be people that they won't do both. That they won't go through and like play the original one and buy the remaster just to see how they compare to each other. But I just think that it makes a ton of sense. Now, is it something Nintendo's going to do? No, probably not, because they can still make a ton more money by just saying, here's Pikmin 1, here's Pikmin 2, and here's Pikmin 3. Buy them on the eShop and then play Pikmin 4. Just as an example. I think it'd be easier for them to do that. Because I can imagine they're going to do the same thing again with Metroid Prime 4. They're going to just say, here's Metroid Prime 2 and 3 in the eShop. But to help them add to the subscription base, include those games. Okay? And also to bring in new fans, add in that. Like, as an example, if you really want to do a push and bring Chibi Robo back, like really push it, and bring a third Chibi Robo game for Switch 2, what better way than to say, and here's, we now have DS, 3DS, GameCube, all that stuff like that. Here's Chibi Robo and the second Chibi Robo game, even though the second Chibi Robo game is nowhere near like the first one. But you still get the example that people can go through. And just to prove that this bottom line doesn't affect anything, go back to the example that I just gave. The Last of Us is on PlayStation Plus. Horizon is on PlayStation Plus. Did people still buy the game? Did people still buy the Last of Us remake? Did people still buy... You see what I'm saying? People will still buy it. Okay? You can include a game like Tetris 99 in your NSO and still sell Tetris 99 physical like they did, and it will still sell. Okay? Because there's some people that just want to have a copy of Tetris 99. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with including that kind of stuff. So I think that you can do both. And I was thinking about this because I started thinking about like why we have certain ways in which certain streaming companies are handling certain franchises and handling TV shows and stuff like that. And I started to kind of think it would be beneficial to do it. Because just like you go to, PlayStation to play a certain game, but the same game is also available on Xbox, and you're like, well, it is included on Game Pass. I'll download it there because it's included with my service. Or maybe you're like me and you just prefer the PS5's controller because of how it feels in your hand, and you're just gonna go get it there. Or certain games I feel just work better on Nintendo. I will pay the extra money, the extra couple of extra bucks, to play it there. And then there's other games where I see it come to the Switch and I'm like, no thanks, that's going to be an indie game that's probably going to show up on Game Pass. I'll play it there. So it doesn't necessarily cut into any profits, is what I'm trying to say. If you really want to play a game like Eastward on your Switch, you pay for it and you're going to buy it there. But the fact that it's included in Game Pass, for those people that maybe they don't own a Switch or they're not going to buy it for a Nintendo Switch, Nintendo's still going to make the same amount of money on Eastward. You know, the developer of Eastward is still going to make the same amount of money. And if you want to do some kind of a deal where, again, maybe 6 months to a year later, it comes to NSO because it's already made the sales, that's perfectly fine. But I think that it works out good. Like, as an example, this new Splatoon 3 DLC, I think should be included with NSO. That way, if you have NSO, it's more bang for your buck. You're basically paying for it. It's included with it. You have Splatoon 3. Your kids love playing it. They get more value out of it. But if you don't have NSO and you don't care for it and all you want to do is just buy the Mario Kart Booster Pack or just buy the Splatoon 3 DLC, you can just do that. I don't think it changes anything either way. You're either going to get long-term, more substantial money monthly for the subscription by continuing to add to it and add these games to it, or you're just going to get small time, or maybe not small time, just limited time sales for the first couple of weeks or whatever, first couple of months off of this DLC. But that's just my 2 cents. I hope that I was able to make some sense out of all that. I know it's kind of back and forth and random. And then I had to deal with stuff in the house, so I paused and came back. So hopefully my train of thought wasn't lost. But I think you kind of get the point of what I'm trying to say. If you can throw in something like the Nathan Drake collection that has all 3 of the Uncharted games and also has a Thief's End on there, and then if they were to come out with another game that featured Nathan Drake, Sony, in a heartbeat would go and you can go back and use PlayStation Plus to relive the Nathan Drake saga, to get people hyped about the 5th game. Or I guess I didn't get the 6th game because there's that one of Chloe, the Lost Legacy or whatever. Then there's also the Golden Compass or whatever it was for Vita. So technically the 7th game, I guess. But you get what I mean. If they were to do it numerically. They would do that. And then there would be people that if they announced a collection again for PS5 that included all the older games, people would buy that too. So I don't think it excludes anything by just fully making the NSO fully back. NES, Super Nintendo, N64, like it already includes, but bring in the DS, the 3DS, bring in the Wii, the Wii U. Shoot, throw Switch games in there when Switch 2 comes out. It's perfectly fine. You can just throw in some of the lesser games that maybe didn't do too well. Like maybe you can throw ARMS in there as an example, or you can throw in 1-2 Switch. Just something that you can discount really quick to just add into the library. Just as an example. I'm not saying those games are bad or that they're good. I'm just giving you an example because they're older games that came out during the launch of the Switch, so they're probably cheaper. And yeah, just go nuts. Throw in Virtual Boy in there if you want to. Figure out some way to make it maybe full color instead of all red, and just say that these games are included in there too. So that way, if you want to, again, and make a new Wario Land game, here's every single Wario Land game. You already have Wario Land 3. Why not bring in the others? You start to see what I'm saying? Bring in Banjo-Tooie, bring in the Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge that came out for the Game Boy Advance. Bring them all over. And then work with Rare to come out with a brand new Banjo-Kazooie game. Like, why not? But that's just my 2 cents, guys. What do you think about this topic? Do you think this is something that Nintendo should do? Do you think that they're A-okay where they're at right now? Or do you really just not care? A part of me almost just doesn't care. It just says, go back to how it was before. Just give us the NES and Super Nintendo games and just go back to a cheaper cost just to include online. Because if I'm going to pay more for this expansion pack to get these N64 games and to get these Genesis games and get all this extra stuff with it, you need to just keep adding more to it. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate that they are adding N64 games and stuff, and they're still adding stuff to it. But use the app that you have for like Wi-Fi connectivity for some Wii U games like Nintendo Land as an example. Use the services that you have and use the IP that you have, because there's a lot of IPs that they own that they're not exactly bringing over to help add value to that. But that's just my 2 cents. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it short here before I make this a long-winded video and longer than I intended it to. I hope that you guys have yourself a good rest of your day. And again, make sure that you share any thoughts that you have in the comments down below. Love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video here at Retro Geek Gaming. Have a good one.